in the United States and around the world to enhance law enforcement investigatory tools and for other purposes. I guess for other purposes includes kidnapping German citizens, but it certainly includes providing every interested party in the United States with your personal profile based on the fact that your profiles are stored in the United States. And that means the Patriot Act doesn't even provide you with the same security that you would get if you would be an American citizen, a brave American citizen. Next. And there are other issues as well, so-called brain drain. We think that applies only to third world countries. Next. Forget about that. That's the same for Germany as well. I tried to figure out, how is Google actually contributing to search engine research corporations in Germany or in Europe? That is the answer I got for the attendance, for the people here in the audience who cannot speak German. I will try to translate it. Dear professor, unfortunately I cannot help you. Google does not provide or work or cooperate with master thesis projects with German universities. We only provide you with lower class services, yours sincerely, and so on. Next. There are some other issues here. Currently, worldwide, we have only 2 research centers, search engine-wise, outside of the United States. One is in Bangalore, makes sense, and the other one is in Zurich, and that is based on the fact that two of the major players within Google, Urs Hölzle and Monika Hansinger, basically came from Switzerland, and now they are, at least Monika is moving back, or has been moving back as far as I know. That has an impact. That's not as easy as it sounds, because in some of these areas there is a certain national interest in regard to that knowledge, wisdom, know-how. Or to put it even simpler, if Google is not cooperating with German universities or other search engines as well, we are not talking here about Google, then the result means I cannot train my students to work or research on these issues, and that means I lose them to the dark side. Basically what they do is either hacking or doing marketing. I'm not quite sure which one is worse. Current job descriptions, if you look at the job descriptions at the Google website for Germany, you will figure out that they are mostly focused on sales or marketing. They do not produce knowledge. They treat us like a third world country. Japan and China have already responded to that. They are now focusing on developing their own state-sponsored search engines. I have some issues with that, but at least chose an alternative to deal with that. Google recently has announced a European Research Center in Germany. There are no detailed figures about that anymore. However, when they publish the figures, I will certainly compare them with the new with the new Red Lab that they have just now sponsored together with Microsoft and Sun. That sounds rather fishy, for $7.5 million, which allows them just the money to hire 10 computer science graduates. $7 million. Next. Now, it's getting even funnier. They don't even hesitate to take it from the poor and the helpless. Next. Google has developed one function called autolink. To be honest, must be said, you have to activate the autolink function within the Google toolbar. That thing is basically connecting any standard issue information and trying to make a link out of that. So far, so good. Next. There are some institutions, however, that make a living from these links or resources. For instance, I was just looking for one. I'm not quite sure if that's a good one. I was just looking for one at Google. The National Association for the People Abused in Childhood. So I was trying to figure out one of the most extreme examples. And they basically make a living, or they keep their website alive through or with the affiliate commissions that they get from book references to Amazon and so on. Now, what is Google doing next? Google is enhancing that feature, taking away the links and replacing their affiliate ID with Google owns affiliate ID. So basically stealing them the money or the links, and this is something that really bothers me. Next. There are some options and alternatives, and just I will briefly mention them. Next. For instance, transferring all the knowledge that we have already produced or that taxpayers have already paid for into the public domain. That also means transferring search engine knowledge into the public domain. That could, for instance, mean transferring Google, or at least the Google database, into the public domain. I'm not only talking about APIs, I'm really talking about taking it away. Other latest distributed search engines, and so on, but we will hear more about that from Mr. Sander Beuermann. Thank you.
Okay, now we're coming to more the technical side of the story. We're looking at the technical aspects. Let me first introduce a bit more about myself. Who I am, my name is long and complicated. I'm working at Hannover University, and my first step in the business of search engines, that was MetaGer, German meta search engine. Some of you might still know that. And since about 2000, we started developing own search engines in the research area, researchportal.net. And in last year, I did, for the first time in my life, I founded an association because I was really bothered about the development in the search engine market and what's going on with the search engines. This is the short form, Zuma e.V. is an English site, Association for the Promotion of Search Engine Technology and Free Access to Knowledge. So this started in last year, and I was responsible for that. Now let's come back to the techniques of search engines. And I'd like to start to give you a short introduction. I'm sure most of you will know how a search engine works, but nevertheless, I'll start with a simple example how a search engine might work. Most do not work like that, but some do, in case we have a network. Unfortunately, there seems to be no network connection here. Ah, there it is. Can't read it. Anyway, I'll tell you, it's a real-time search engine. You give it a starting address. You say a web page like zuma-ev.de. Give it a starting address and tell the search engine to start searching at that address. And then you give it a search word like China. And you say, search, and now you see what it does. It picks up all the links on the starting page and picks up links and looks at every web page if the word China would be found on this page. And you see it down here, after 24 links have been investigated, there's actually one which refers to the same point Mr. Speck already pointed out. It's written down here, the word China. Where is it? It's mentioned here on this press notice where the Google involvement in China is discussed. Now, you've seen when we started this play around search engine, where to click on? When we started this play toy search engine, it took quite some time until it found it. It was only 24 web pages which were investigated, but that already took about 10 seconds or so. So this is much too long for real search engines. So most search engines of the real world work like this. They have three components. They have a crawler which moves over the web like you have seen in this play toy. It grabs any website it can find. Then it takes that website, makes an index of it. That means it puts all words which it can find on that page in a database, stores it, and makes this database available over web interface to the user. And that's what you see of the search engine. That's the part the user knows of the search engine. So with this method, you just know what's in the database of the search engines. You don't know what's actually on the website. These databases have to be updated, and Google does it in a period of some days up to some months. So what the search engine, most search engines spits out, it's not what is at the actual time in it. There are developments to check do real-time checking. It is a follower of my grandfather's job, like Mr. Speck told, MetaGer.de, the meta search engine. And if this, yeah, there it comes up. This search engine does a real-time checking. After the search, let's try the China example again. After the search for China, it actually grabs the websites and checks if this word is really on it. So it's not just a database investigation. Okay. Now, Mr. Speck has already shown you the market shares of the search engines, and I'm focusing on the German market. And I started my timeline back just 2.5 years ago. There was the Google market share of about 67%. And if we look about a year later, it's already 75%. In last year, it was 81%, and around now we have it about 33%. But this is just the share of Google, and you have to add to this Google share T-Online and RL search, because they only take Google's results and put it in their own search engine. So you have to add the value of T-Online, this 1.6, and RL 2.5, you have to add it, and then you are over 85% of Google market share in Germany. Now, this shows that most people actually do believe in Goo, and you might put in a letter of your whatever you like. Now, this sentence has a second part. I call it a miserable failure to believe in Google, and I will show you an example why I call it a miserable failure. So I click on the Google homepage and I type in miserable failure. Maybe you know this example. If I haven't mistyped it, and it looks okay, the homepage of George Bush comes out. Now, if you actually look on this homepage, you would not find the words failure and miserable, of course, on this page. So the question might arise how this happens. And the story is very simple. This is tricking Google, dirty tricks against Google, or we might not call them dirty, tricks against Google. Google does not just take the words on the websites, Google takes the words on the links to the website as well. So if you don't like anybody, you put a lot of links to him, and you don't need very, very many. It's about in the range of 1,000 links, and you put ugly names in that links, then these names will show up in the Google results of the web page of the person who wanted to annoy. Now, what options do we have to operate search engines if we do not want to have it as a monopoly? And I've written here a broad spectrum of possibilities. Now, on one side, there's actually the idea that the government could operate a search engine, like in Germany, ARD and ZDF, like the TV stations. There could be a government search engine. Now, I wouldn't trust the government search engine as well. This is a monopoly on the other side. This is one, but it is a possibility, so it's here on this slide. Now, the other possibility is to put it not in one hand of a governmental institution, but to spread it out over libraries and universities and let it run in the, say, in the governmental area. On the other hand, far away or not in the government, there are the private possibilities. Anybody can run a search engine